The sun was merciless that afternoon, beating down on the barren expanse of the training range. Dust hung in the air like a curtain, stirred by every step, every round fired, every barked command. She bent low, sweat dripping from her brow, as she carried the fresh paper targets downrange. She wasn't a SEAL, wasn't even in the Navy, just a base worker. To most of the men out here, she was invisible, a shadow who stapled up targets and cleared grass. But in her silence, in the way her eyes lingered on every rifle, every drill, there was a hunger no one noticed, at least, not until that moment. As she placed the last target, she turned to jog back behind the safety line when a voice stopped her. Sharp, clipped, commanding, "Hold up." She froze. The SEAL who had spoken wasn't just any trainee, he was the kind of man whose presence radiated dominance. Tall, muscular, and with eyes that missed nothing, he walked forward, his rifle cradled in his arms. She thought she was in the way, thought she was about to be scolded for slowing down the training. But instead, he did something no one expected. Without a word, he handed her his rifle, nodded once, and stepped aside. For a moment, the range went silent. Conversations halted. Even the wind seemed to still. Every SEAL's gaze shifted toward her. Her hands trembled as they wrapped around the weapon, heavier than she had imagined, its steel alive with the weight of purpose. She could have refused. She should have refused. But something inside her, the years of doubt, the whispers that she wasn't strong enough, the ache of every door slammed in her face when she said she wanted to serve, rose like fire in her chest. Slowly, she stepped to the line. Her heart thundered in her ears, but her breathing steadied. She shouldered the rifle, lined up the sight, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't just a bystander. She pulled the trigger. The crack split the air. The round tore through the paper, landing dead center. One shot, then another, then another. Perfect grouping. The SEAL who had given her the rifle smiled faintly, just a flicker, but enough to change everything. The others exchanged glances, some impressed, some skeptical. And her hands, though trembling, didn't falter. When her magazine ran dry, she lowered the weapon, suddenly aware of the silence pressing around her. She handed it back, almost apologetically, as if she had stolen something precious. But the SEAL didn't take it right away. Instead, he said, his voice low but certain, "You belong here more than half the men I've trained." The words hit her harder than the recoil ever could. She blinked, fighting back tears, not because she was weak, but because someone had finally seen her, not as a worker, not as background, but as someone worthy. That night, lying awake in her small quarters, she replayed the moment over and over. All the years of rejection came flooding back. When recruiters told her she wasn't cut out for combat, when family told her she should stick to safe jobs, when even friends laughed at the idea of her carrying a rifle. But now, a SEAL had seen her. And that meant everything. In the weeks that followed, she showed up to the range early, stayed late, and practiced with borrowed gear when no one was watching. Some of the SEALs mocked her at first, whispering that she was chasing a fantasy. But slowly, the whispers faded. The first SEAL, the one who had handed her his rifle, began to mentor her quietly, teaching her breathing techniques, stances, discipline. The road wasn't easy. She failed more often than she succeeded. Her arms burned from push-ups, her lungs screamed during runs, her hands blistered from endless drills. But each time she fell, she rose again. And each time she rose, the men who once dismissed her grew quieter, their smirks replaced with respect. Months later, she stood at a different range, no longer replacing targets but standing shoulder to shoulder with those who once overlooked her. She was still fighting for her place, still proving herself, but the fire inside her burned brighter than ever. She would never forget that moment, that first shot, that first chance, that SEAL who had seen something in her worth more than paper targets and silence. The message was clear. Sometimes, all it takes is one person believing in you to awaken the strength you've carried all along. And sometimes, the smallest moment, a rifle passed from one hand to another, can change the course of a life forever.